Tony Northeastern, and in this video we're going to be looking at building the baseboard and having a new look at the track plan, which I think I'm definitely be going with. So let's crack on. And here is the track plan. I think I'm going to be running with this. It's not 100% prototypical, as we know, due to restrictions on the baseboards and the curve coming into the station, but this is what I'm going to be running with. Hopefully there may be enough room to put this little spur in where I can hold an engine, so there may be an engine shed going in there, but we'll soon find out when I come to lay the track. Okay, firstly the baseboard. I've got two pieces of timber here which are exactly the same length as the MDF sheet we've got here, and what I've done is I've clamped these two pieces of wood edgeways on side by side for marking out. Right, okay, as you can see I've clamped them edge to edge, and basically all the spans going across the baseboard are going to be at 300mm centres. So I'm going to start by marking it up one span at a time, 300mm from the edge, and by doing this I can mark two pieces of wood at the same time, and they'll be exactly in the same place each time when I come to drill the holes. Okay, before I started marking these out for the cross members for the baseboard, I did check to see whether any of these markings would interfere with the pointers that are going onto the baseboard. So that does pay to check to do that before you start building your frames. Okay, now you've marked both sides, we can now drill them. I've just put a bit of rough wood underneath there because I don't want to drill through into this baseboard here. Okay, that's the frame made. As you can see, it's just a basic construction, glued and screwed. Because of the width of the timber, it's only 28mm by 18, so you can only just about get one screw in there anyway. So that's that bit done, that's the framework done. At last, the framework for the terminus station south shield is now in place. The last big milestone of the layout. There's still room here for an extension of 1 foot only, if I need it. It's possible that I will need it. But yes, so the next thing is to put the baseboard on the top. And there is the baseboard, top board, waiting for the final station. 5 feet of track to lay, station to build, signal box, footbridges, you name it. Right, here we have the joint, and as you can see my pencil marks I did earlier are a little bit out. They're about ½ inch out. So that was probably one of the reasons why this baseboard here was not screwed down. Right, I have now temporarily screwed this baseboard to the framework and this baseboard to the framework as well, just so I can put in this point here because it crosses both baseboards, and this is going to be one of the awkward ones to fix. Basically what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to fix this permanently to this baseboard and then just lift it off as and when I need to until this one is complete. This point here is the next one I'm going to be doing, because this one is also connected to this one. So yeah, although it's just temporary pinned, it's still not fixed this side here, which I'm going to leave it until all the track work is done on this baseboard board here. Now that I'm happy with the point positioning, I can now take out the screws and lift the baseboard off so I can fit the point motor. Take out these temporary screws and then just lift this off. Here we have the last point motor to be fitted onto this section of the layout. There you've got the two that start the junction off, and you've got this one here which crosses over onto the next baseboard. And if you look closely, I have changed the way I've wired this one up. The feed wires would come off of here and be hidden, and you wouldn't be able to see them. So what I've done here, I've just soldered little bits of wire across the two there, and the feed wires now here, and soldered to the track work itself. Right, so while the baseboard is in this position, I can tidy up all these cables and make it a lot easier when I come to fitting the baseboard for the final fit, if that makes sense. And another thing I have done, I have numbered all the points so that when the cables are all down, dropping through the main baseboards, I can identify them and know exactly where they go. I'm sure you all have that trouble when we're got loads and loads and loads of cables and you've got a clue where they've come from. So this is what I have done. I have marked them all up, and I have marked them up with a marker pen on some tape and coiled them up nice and neat and tidy. Right, so this baseboard can now go back on. I'm quite happy now that all the points on this particular baseboard is working fine, so I can put it back. Just a quick useful tip, these are brilliant. They're sticky back cable holders just for putting your zip ties through, and they're brilliant because you can just feed your cables through them and then zip tie them up and keeps them all up out of the way, nice and neat and tidy. Just thought I'd quickly show you that. Okay, it's starting to take shape. I'm still waiting for a point to go in there, which is a left hand long radius, which would then feed this line, which would be on the goods side of the station. So I think now we can definitely concentrate on the track work on this main baseboard. Okay, here we have the junction on the north side of the station, and I've just got it placed as per the plan. So basically what I've done is, where the radius finishes, I have drawn a straight line so that I can line up the points as close as I can to that radius. and from this point here I can fix all these points in place and not worry too much about the flexibles, because I can sort them out once I've finished the southern end of the junction. So this is where it is at the moment, so I can start pinning these in place so I can start marking out the holes for the drilling. With all the points in place, and I'm quite happy with the way the junction looks, this will line up with that section and track, and the other two lengths of track should link up quite well as well. So I think it's time now to mark out where all the holes are going to be. So we can do all the wiring. So it's quite a lot of marking to do. All the holes have now been drilled for the point motors and dropper wires and feeding wires for the point motors and the final controls for the DCC units. And here is the first point on the northern junction that has been pre-wired and ready, and as you can see I've numbered it to make sure that they didn't get mixed up with the others, and I've also indicated where the red cable was to be soldered onto. So that's the first point done, and we still got the rest to wire up. Okay, the northern junction is finished, with an exception that point number 79 has been removed due to restrictions on the board. Looking at some recent photographs, I just think it would have been nice to have a spur line so I could have a locomotive parked here all the time at South Shields, but I have to get in two buildings just about in this area here: a water tower and a signal box, and by having this pointing here won't allow me to do that if I want to follow the plan. Okay, we have another change of plan. Nothing is going to plan, of course. I have put the point back, and I put a little extension of track just there, 40mm, just enough to make this track just swoop out just a little bit further. But the water tower will be moved. It'll be in this little area here along with a crane. It's a slight deviation from what I've seen, but it shouldn't affect the whole look of the station when I come to build it. As you can see, the point here is right near the edge of the baseboard. I've been configuring it and working out, and luckily for me I'm going to extend this by 320mm, which will give this length of track around about 370mm when it's fixed to the extension piece. which is just enough for a small locomotive and maybe a wagon or two. But we'll soon see when I come to finish it. And meanwhile, on the southern junction, the left hand radius curve point has turned up, so that's been wired up and been placed in situ, and now you're beginning to see how this junction is taking shape. So this will be platform 2, which can then come out onto the main line on the left hand side, and any goods traffic can come down the middle line and run around and put the goods into the goods platform, which will also be platform 2. So it's starting to take shape. I just got to do the tracks between this junction and this junction, and then once that's done I can flip the baseboard over and put the point motors in, and then finally nail down both baseboards, this one and this one. Here we are looking at the track plan heading north. This has been a tricky track work design right from the start. As you can see, if it wasn't for the fact of having a storage yard underneath, I think it would have been a lot easier to do, but it's almost there. I have managed to stick with the track plan, which I came up with last week on the last video, and it seems to have worked out quite well. The tracks here and here are still not firmly pinned down, because we have to separate this baseboard from that baseboard, and I've got to be extra careful on how I do that because of these 2 points which cross the 2 baseboards. So, and that'll be probably in the next video when I flip this board over to do the points on both ends of this station. I pin the track down at least every 4 inches, so it's roughly 100 millimeters. Just one last thing before we go. I just want to show you the Pico Model Scenes platform signage which I just bought, and I have just made up the first sign for South Shields. I've used ratio letters which are 5mm. You do get letters with the model scene, but you've got to cut them out and place them in. And the reason why I didn't use these is because if you're not too careful, you could end up with great big gaps, and it doesn't look as realistic as this one. So that's all from me this week. It's been 2 weekends now doing the track work alone, so hopefully next week the points will be done underneath, and then we can start looking at the extension piece on the end and how I make the platforms before I go on to the dreaded ballasting. Right, thanks for watching everybody, and I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now. Bye.